Welcome to Wholesale Hotline, where we cover everything to do with wholesale real estate. I'm Jamil Damji.
I'm Brent Daniels.
And I am Pace Morby.
And together we cover the most important parts of wholesale real estate.
Lead generation.
Conversion of sellers into contracts.
And dispositions. Guys, remember when you're watching this show, do us a favor and squad up in the comments.
Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube channels and in the Facebook group Wholesale Hotline.
Most important, we want to know we're doing a great job for you and helping you build your business. So go give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify.
So squad up and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline 127. I am Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People. We're talking about lead generation here. We're talking about conversion here. We're talking about exit strategy. And we couldn't talk about any of those three without the man, my man, Pace Morby. What's up, brother?
How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here.
You guys been get up to the TTP ranch lately or what?
Yeah, I was up there this weekend. We had a beautiful time, overcast. So Flagstaff is about 40 degrees cooler than Phoenix. Phoenix was what, 115, 118 this week? It was hot. So we got into the mountains and enjoyed a really great weekend. It was awesome. Thank you for asking.
Of course. I think you got something for the audience today, right?
I do. I want to start out with 3 thoughts to get our brains working here on this beautiful Monday. All right. The first one is this. It's about the economy, right? It's about all the things that are going on and everything that we're seeing with inventory changes, interest rate changes, inflation, what everybody's talking about. But I will say this, in my experience of doing this since 2004 and going through a couple different markets, one really bad one decent one kind of flat one explosive one that we've had over the last couple of years. I truly believe that it doesn't matter what the economy does. It matters what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like either way, you have to have quality conversations and solve the problems of property owners. And most of the property owners that we work with are in some sort of distress situation. And that's why they will trade potential equity in their house for speed and convenience, or which we call wholesaling, which is trading potential equity for speed and convenience, or as Pace has taught everybody every Sunday and thousands of people around the country, you get wholesale terms, right? Wholesale price or wholesale terms. So it doesn't matter what the economy does. It matters what you do. Right. And that leads me into my second point here, Pace, is your only competition is your business plan. And let me explain to this, right? Your only competition is what goals have you set for your business? Are you going to treat this like a business, or are you going to treat this like, it's a job? Are you just going to go out there and find some deals here and there and do this as a side hustle? Or is this going to be your income? Is this going to replace your income? Is this going to be your number one priority when it comes to your finances, to growing your bank accounts, to some point go and buy assets, right? And get the cash flow. So it's really your competition is your business plan. Your competition is what do you think that you can achieve in the next day, week, month, year. That's the competition. It's not everybody in the side chat. Everybody in the side, that's for squatting up. Your competition is what are you going to do? Competition is when things hit, when you close a deal, are you going to stop? Or are you going to keep going? Are you going to celebrate for the next 3 weeks? Or are you going to just act like nothing happened and start every day at 0, right? Can you hear me okay, Pace? This air conditioner is going bananas.
We can hear you. Your internet is just a little bit choppy. It's 90% okay, 10% choppy. And overall, you're okay.
I mean, who knows?
No, I got it. You're not in your normal studio. So everybody, please be patient with us on the audio. You cut out about 7% of the time, but we're putting it 100% together.
Okay. The last bit is this. And I think that you were talking about this weekend, Pace, about getting loud on social media, about going out there, letting people know what you do. And likes are awesome. Getting likes are amazing. Closed deals are better.
100%.
Right? Would you agree, Pace?
Yeah, 100%. And it is interesting. All of those things are really good. I think my favorite one you just said is your business plan is your competition. What you plan to do with your way? So good. So good. I update my goals every 30 days. And the main thing that I'm updating I'm removing things I accomplished, which is crazy because of how fast you can accomplish goals. And I have, little bite-sized goals along the way and whatnot. And what happens is I remove the old ones to put new ones on there. And I never think about what my friends are doing other than how can I help them? How can I do this? How can I do that? Whatever to help my friends. But I realize that my friends have their own business plan. I have my own business plan. If I'm comparing myself to somebody else's business plan, that's one of the dumbest things you can ever do. And then also, are you comparing your business plan to what's going on in the news, or are you comparing your business plan and basing your business plan off of what is actually happening and what's really going on inside of the market?
Yep. Well, and I also think, when you look across the table, if I were to look at you, Pace, you provide more value than I do, right? So my business plan is different than your business plan. Your business plan is set up for, you're just going. I mean, you're up at 2:30, you're going all day long, you're doing things on the weekend, you're doing things with the family, you're doing all of these things. It's different. For me, I come in, I do the work, I'm available on my phone, so I'm real flexible all the time for my students, and that's what I do. But if you're looking at somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, how did they go and make all this money, or how they be this successful? You got to look at, well, how much value did they provide? You know what I mean? Where are they at in their lives that they can provide that much value? And how did they get that big of an engine, that big of a motor to keep going all the time? Maybe they don't do things that you do, right? Maybe they don't have the same life that you do. So you really have to look at your business plan. If you want to have and grow as a business person, you got to compare yourself to what your business plan is and what you can accomplish, because you set that. It's not somebody else setting that. You set that. And if you set it and you stick with it, you're going to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. You and I have interesting differences between the two of us. One of them, I'm still making up for lost time, right? I had everything zapped from me 4 years ago. So I'm making up in my mind for lost time. I also am trying to get to a point where I live the lifestyle that you have earned. And the same thing with Jerry Norton. I look at you and Jerry Norton as you have transitioned into more lifestyle stuff because that's what you've earned. And part of me is working my guts off to try and get to TTP, trying to get to your level and try to get to Jerry Norton's level. I look at Jerry Norton, he spends the whole summer at his lake house in Montana, and not just at his lake house, both of his lake houses that are 2 houses away from each other. And I'm like, the guy put in 16 hours of really hard work, providing value at a very high level. He deserves that. And so I feel like I'm a couple of years away from having a similar business model as you. Here's what I do like. Okay. When I do compare my business model,
I don't know if you can still that much, Pace. I'll tell you what. Well, you will have that second house and you'll be doing stuff. I think you'll still be doing lives from your second house. I'll tell you that. Unless it doesn't have good internet like mine.
Well, the thing about like you, here's what I like. I was talking to somebody in South Carolina 2 days ago. Jamil and I popped in. We were home back within about 30 hours. Like we left, flew out to Atlanta, drove to South Carolina, did the meetup, woke up at 4, drove back to Atlanta, 3 hours, jumped on a plane. I was home in 30 hours. So like a really quick turnaround. But I really enjoyed the meetup because what I prep people at these meetups now to do is I say, look, I want to meet you after I speak up here. I want to meet every one of you. So let me give you some framework for a conversation I'd like to have with you. Number one, what's your name? Right? Don't come up to me and say, hey, I follow you on YouTube and I did it. Like, bro, come up and tell me my name. Don't forget about Pace, the cardboard cutout. Like, I'm just Pace the guy. So walk up to me
Yep.
and go, hey, Pace, my name is Tom. And then the second thing I want you guys to do is I want you to say, hey, my name is Tom, and here's my number one problem I have in my business right now. Okay. So what happens is at the meetup portion, I get to meet everybody and they all come to me and they tell me their number one problem. And I would say that the number one problem I hear over and over and over is, Pace, my name is Tom, my name is Stephanie, my name is Jessica, my name is Jerry, my name is whatever, and I am stuck in analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice? I go, well, my first piece of advice is to convince you and for you to convince yourself that analysis paralysis is actually not your number one problem. Your number one problem is your lack of ability to introduce yourself to new people. That is your number one problem. Because when you have proximity to other people, you cannot help. Even if you tried, you cannot help but to absorb what they're doing. Case in point. So I'm talking to this guy, Tom, and I start telling him all this stuff. And he goes, okay, I guess, yeah, you know, proximity is power, right? And I'm like, yeah, but beyond that hype bullshit of like what you've read on Instagram and in a book of proximity is power, we all know it's true, but let me give you some good examples. Why did I start a title company? Well, because my friends were starting title companies and I realized that's something that is even possible, right? And I'm leading down to the point of comparing business models and tying it back into you and me. So I go, that's how I didn't just one day decide I'm going to start a title company. It was because I was hanging around people that were starting title companies. Then lending business. Then, oh, let's acquire multifamily, or let's go raise capital, or let's go do whatever. Those things came from people I was hanging out with. And he goes, okay, so like, I guess I should, like, okay, I just need more friends. And I was like, bro, you don't believe me. I'm not convinced that you're convinced. And he goes, yeah, I guess not. I guess I'm not. Like, otherwise I would have been making friends this whole time. And I go, okay, you see that tattoo on your right arm? He goes, yeah. I go, I'm willing to bet my right arm that the reason you have that tattoo right there is because of the people you were hanging out with were, and before I could even finish my sentence, he goes, they were getting tattoos. And I go, you got tattoos because other people were getting tattoos, and that was a cool thing. And I think tattoos are dope. If I could find somebody that would make really cool Arizona like desert art, I would definitely get a tattoo. So nothing wrong with tattoos, but I go, isn't it interesting that you see the physical manifestation of hanging out with other people getting tattoos on your actual body? You having proximity to other people that enjoy tattoos got you to get a damn tattoo. The problem is the tattoos that we're talking about are the tattoos of the mind. And what happens is other people's and their actions put tattoos on your mind. And then those tattoos show up not on a physical manifestation on your skin, but in the way you behave and the actions that you take. And so here you are hanging out with people that aren't talking about real estate. They're not talking about bettering themselves. And those things are leaving a tattoo imprint on your brain, just like your tattoo buddies left one on your right arm. He was like, oh my gosh, you broke it down so simple for me. And I said, look, my job is to show you what's possible. Just like Brent Daniels showed me what was possible. Jerry Norton showed me what was possible. And so when I do compare my business model to you and your business model, it's only to show myself what is possible, right? Giving myself permission of, wow, if my hero can do it and he's a friend of mine and I get proximity to him, I know I can do it too. So when I do compare myself to you, it is simply to give myself permission to add elements from your business model to my own. And some of those are spending more time up in Flagstaff, enjoying my second home and getting away and having a different phase of my life. And so I appreciate thousands and thousands of things that you've done for me. One of them, namely, is creating a business model for yourself that gives me permission to chase that same business model. And I love that. I compare myself. My only competition is my own business model. And when I compare my business model to others, it's only to give myself permission to adapt and change. So,
well, in
yes,
comparison, listen, Alex Hormozy said it's the, the thief of joy. It's also the seed of greatness.
Ooh, interesting.
Right? Isn't that interesting, right? So I think that there's two sides of that. But I think from a competitive side, I think that there's some healthy comparison that can be made. I think when it gets unhealthy, that's the thief of joy. But the competition that you have is your business plan. It's you. That's it. You know, Pace. We would sit down every single year. We haven't done it this year. We probably should soon. With Steve Trang, with Jesse and Evo and Annie that own Batch Services, with Jamil, with you, me, and we'd go over what did we do last year, what's our goals this year, what is our focus here, and everybody had something different, and everybody was like, yeah, go for it, do it, Steve, do your thing, right? And but it wasn't like I was like, well, I need to do that because Pace is doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I got to focus on my thing, and I got to compete against this business plan, because what happens is things are going to happen. The market's going to change, right? Personal things are going to pop up all the time in business. There's going to be times where maybe you get COVID, maybe you don't get COVID, maybe you're out for a week when you were just like at full steam ahead and it just kind of sidelines you for a bit. There are things that always pop up. There's always challenges that pop up. And if you keep it focused on what is your business plan and actually that's what I really wanted. The core of this start here, Pace, is really how many people have a written business plan? How many people have, I'm not just talking about goals, but how are you going to achieve those goals? And then what does that look like? How many people do you need to have in your company to hit your financial goals? Because that's where you can start really getting some passive income. You know as well as I do, Pace, that the passive income that we get from businesses can be way more. I mean, it could be less than real estate, but it could be a way more than it can be residential real estate or commercial real estate in general, right? And so do you have a plan? That's what I want to challenge everybody. If you don't have a plan, just write a business plan. There's a million videos on it. I have some on my YouTube channel. Pace, do you have anything on business planning or anything on there? I'm sure you do. I'm sure it's in your course. But I mean,
no, actually, I have business plans for all of my businesses, but I actually don't teach about that. I freaking love that conversation. That's a great conversation to have, because what you write tends to manifest itself. And every time I write down a new goal, it's weird. It's now like this continual cycle. You write it down, it enforces it into your brain. You then commit to it. And then next thing you know, the universe, if you put in the work, right, the universe then starts manifesting and putting things in your path that allow you to accomplish those things. And a business plan, like without it being written, holy crap, dude, you're like a flag in the wind, barely holding on.
Well, and the issue is everything looks good. There's so many good things, right, Pace? There's so many exciting things to do in this world as a business person and living in this capitalistic society. And you see other people doing these amazing things. And then you see people that do boring businesses, but they make a ton of money. And then you see people that do, flips, and they do development, and they do sub-twos, and they do wholesaling, and they do all these other things. Everything looks good, and all of a sudden you're stuck because you're not focused on what you need to do to hit your goals that you set up. And it's really interesting. I think it's very interesting to, now that I'm looking, I always look at it, Pace, halfway through the year, and I go, okay, where am I at in comparison to this year's goals? And you have staff, have business partners, you have people that are involved that put their input into it. If there's not something that's keeping everybody accountable, it could backslide into, well, we're making money, it's good, but it could be better. You know what I'm saying? It could be better.
I've been in those situations of like, hey, we're making money. That means everything's good. I've been in those places, right? Because you fight so long just to get to a point where you're making money, that once you start making money, you're like, okay, this is good. It's good. But the reality is it might be completely broken. You have to have a business plan. And then you wake up 6 months later, like, this is not the business I really wanted. Well, it's because you didn't design it. You just let life happen to you.
Yeah. And listen, you lose focus on it. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this thing slipped, that thing slipped. And then all of a sudden it's not where you want. There you go, Guillermo. 40%, you become 40% more likely to achieve your goals and dreams simply by writing them down on a daily basis. Totally agree. I would write it down. I got those like Grant Cardone 10X little things that you write in every single day. And I would write it in there and I would say, I'm going to make $10,000 today. I'm going to make $10,000 today. And then I read Go Giver. And then I was like, I'm going to provide $10,000 worth of value today and $10,000 worth of value today. And then you get to the point when you make $10,000 a day. I mean, it just depends on what you want to think and focus on and put into your brain. But I'm telling you, you need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're going to fall for everything. For real.
Yeah,
you're going to fall for everything.
If you look at here's how I do my plan. Here's how I do my goals. I'll share a little bit so you guys have a little bit of insight. So if you look here, this is my notes, right? Typically this is just my app on my iPhone, and then I'm obviously using it on my computer as well. This is an avatar thing I'm doing with my students, like breaking down people's personalities and giving them individual homework based on that. But then I've got my weekly schedule. I've got my links to like certain things. I give away one of Robert Allen's books that I love. I give it away. Yep. And then right here, it shows the last time I touched my goals was 7/7/22. So 11 days ago is the last day I updated my notes and my goals. And I have one of my favorite quotes. My wife sent it to me, and I have it at the very top of that. And it is, it's not who you think you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not.
Yeah. And
so I see that all the time of like, I'm like, oh, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to ever get to that level. And I find myself all the time. I go, yeah, I'm never going to be a guy that has this, or it has a guy that it's too late for me, or I wasn't born in the right situations. And that quote stops me and is like, no, dude, you can literally create anything you want. And when you are going through the crap, like when you were going through the foreclosure crisis back in the day, and you were going through the judgment thing that you went through, and you shared that story, if somebody told you, hey man, just keep your chin up, you can accomplish anything you want in life, you'd be like, get the F out of my way. Yeah. But it's crazy when you put in the work and you have a plan and it's actually structured. You only chisel slowly at it. And then you wake up, your nose is so close to the pavement and to the grind for 2 years straight. You look up and you go, you don't even realize what you've accomplished. What it is the outside world tells you, man, I'm proud of you. Look what you're doing. And you're like, I didn't even notice I was doing this. I was just working. I was working on my business plan.
And I think it's interesting. I always, for my own goals, Pace, I always, I don't know. There's something about it. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe psychologically it's wrong. I don't know. But I don't like sharing it. I like it being in my brain. I like seeing it. I like it putting there. I don't want to put it on social media. I don't want to put it out there and show everybody what my goals are. It doesn't matter, because then they're comparing their goals to mine, and I'm comparing mine to theirs. And then all of a sudden there's that attention is over there instead of where it should be, which is providing value to the marketplace. Right? Which in our business is picking up the damn phone and calling on an ugly house. You had mentioned that when you're at meetups and you're meeting everybody and everybody's coming up and talking to you, the question I always ask is, how is business? How's business? How's business? Well, I'm getting ready to get started. I'm doing some things here and there. I haven't really found the deal yet or whatever else. Or I just closed this deal and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I would say for anybody that is overthinking about taking action, like, there are so many properties that I see driving to whatever meetup groups or whenever we're speaking or whatever, that if you just stop the car and went to the door, or just, clicked it on an app and got the phone for that house and called them, that is a huge win. That builds your confidence, that builds your experience in this business. And I think a lot of people just hold back because, one, they don't know what to say, or two, they think that they're going to screw up, or three, they don't have the squad. They don't have the friends, right? They don't have the people that are already doing this. But then you get into a car. If you and I, Pace, took a group of people in a bus and we were like, everybody has to call an ugly house, and we just got all hyped about it, people would go bananas. People would be, I want to call that house. No, I want to call that house. How is it any different? It's just a mindset. You could go around and literally just go find some ugly houses, give them a call, and see if you can solve their problems. And I'm telling you, this is the time. Sellers are going to pop up like crazy, They're going to, it's the time.
We've been doing, we just started a private sub-2 challenge inside of my group. And it's only 2 weeks. but we're just getting back to the basics, right? And which is finding opportunities, getting on the phone, comping those opportunities, and talking to buyers. Literally just getting on the phone on both sellers and buyers and just doing it 4 hours a day, but live. And I'm telling you, bro, as a squad, people want to do stuff. I don't know about you, but I'm a social creature. I have a hard time doing anything by myself. I want to do it with other people. It gets me more excited,
100%.
amped. You have live feedback. You get to have jokes. It's like a fun environment that has energy in it. And so we just started this 4-hour challenge. I'm like, man, I almost like really want to open it up to the whole world, because we're not even talking about creative finance. We're just talking about, let's go look at a house that's been on the market for 92 days. Let's call the agent, right? Simple stuff. Or, hey, I see that house. It's for sale by owner. Let's call the seller and see what's going on, and actually start putting people on the phone on the live challenge, and then comp the deal and go, hey, does everybody agree that this is a good deal or a bad deal? And what should we buy it at? And you're collectively crowdsourcing the information, and everybody together as a tribe or as a squad is all learning collectively together. It becomes so much more fun. But anyway, I'm thinking
so
about
tell me how you organize this, because I'm going to implement this with TTP immediately. So is it like on a meetup? What's that, air meet or something? What do you do it on?
I do air meets because air meets allow me to go past 1,000 people.
Yep.
And when I do an air meet, usually goes to 2,000, 3,000 people that show up to those. I only do those for one thing, because every time somebody comes in as a registrant of an air meet, it costs me $1. So if I do one,
that's what you do in your coaching program?
No.
On this call?
Air meet is typically for like the open public.
Okay.
For my private group, I'm doing it on Zoom, because I usually get between 600 to 900 live students on there, and we're just squatting up. We did it today. Here's the thing. I usually do all my live support calls early in the morning and late at night. Dan Quijano runs our nightly dial. You'll see him very active in the chat tonight here, guys. He's an amazing human being.
He's on the screen. Dan's the man.
There he is. There he is. So Dan Quijano, a good friend of mine, also runs the nightly dial for Sub 2. And then Caroline Kane, who she's a TPTP student, she runs the daily dial.
Yep.
So I said for 2 weeks, I'm going to shut off the daily dial. I'm going to shut off the nightly dial. And everybody is going to collectively focus on doing Zooms at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day, because I want to call live people. I don't want to do it morning. I don't want to do it evening, because we can't call people. It's too early or it's too late.
Love it.
And I find myself on my support calls on Tuesdays and Saturdays and Sundays when I'm there calling sellers at 9:30 Eastern time, because it's 6:30 my time. And I'm just like, this is not fair for you guys or the seller. I'm still locking up deals at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. But it's like, it doesn't allow for meaningful relationships when you're calling somebody and apologizing them for calling so late right out of the get, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing it from 10 o'clock to 2 p.m. every day, and we're just looking for distressed properties. And then I'm teaching people to take very simple homework every day, so that at the end of 2 weeks, they've accomplished one of 4, or maybe multiple of 4 of what I call elephant's feet in this business, right? So think about this. Real estate as a whole is like an elephant. It's massive, and you don't know where to start, right? So when people say, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. How do you handle real estate? Well, one bite at a time. The problem is it's chasing away from you because you don't know how to take it down. So I teach people, here are the 4 things you need to know to stop that elephant so you can slowly work on it, right? You take out its feet. Here's the 4 feet. Number 1, where do opportunities come from? And if I told you right now, hey, Brent, can you go find an opportunity today? You'd be like, today? How about in 2 minutes?
Yeah, it's outside right now.
Right. Find an opportunity. 2, how do I underwrite and comp that opportunity? And what I'm training my students to do is, if I gave you my money, right? I took it away from my wife and children out of our bank account, and I gave you my money to make a decision, and I wasn't available, and you had to make a decision on a property to buy it for a fix and flip or a wholesale, would you feel comfortable using my money because of the confidence you have in comping a property? And a lot of my students that are newer are like, hell no. But a lot of my students that have been with me for a year or 2 years are like, hell yeah, I absolutely would. So that is a paramount, super important thing you have to learn in the very beginning stages of real estate. So that's the second foot. The third foot is, where are my buyers? Where are my customers? So we're teaching them that. And then the fourth leg is, again, this is real estate 101. Where do opportunities come from? How do I comp those opportunities to verify that they're good? How do I find a customer to sell them to? And then 4, what's the vernacular or the jargon? What's the lingo? What's the basic necessities I need to be able to not look like an absolute buffoon in the marketplace? And so the 2-week challenge I'm doing right now is not about how many deals we can do. It's not about how many creative finance terminologies we can learn. It's literally, can I take the 4 legs of the elephant down so that the elephant stops running away from me? Can I confidently say I can comp a property if anybody sent me an address? Can I confidently say I can find a seller in any market in 15 minutes that I can have a conversation with? If you can do that after 2 weeks, oh my gosh, you've accomplished like 90% of the most challenging part of real estate.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing. I set up the challenge, and I'm giving daily homework that changes every day based on what we did during the live. And then we verify it the next day. And what happens is we require you to turn your homework in the next day in order to get access to the next day's challenge.
I love it. I would challenge everybody. Pace, you know as well as I do, you get number 1 in the deal.
Yeah.
Right. You get somebody that's distressed. You get somebody that's having a conversation with you. You look that thing up on Zillow. It says it's worth $220. They want $89,000, and it needs a full gut or full remodel or whatever they want to say. I assume that everybody's squatting up in your group, right? You know what I mean? As soon as it's going. I mean, it's literally finding people. It's what both of you and I did to really understand the pricing, because it was going really fast in 15, 16, 17, 18. The pricing and the buyers were coming in and out. I really leaned on Jamil a lot, and I know that you did. And we missed Jamil, by the way. He's spending time with family today. But and it was Josiah and Jamil. It was first Josiah, and then Jamil took over. And it was like, hey, I got this deal here. It's in an area that I don't really know that well. I'm thinking it's here. Do you want to take this down? And he would be like, yeah, but I need it here. Right. And then all of a sudden you understand, and boom, he's running with these things, and he's got the buyer, got these things. So, I think if you know that you can, if you start with the action of calling people, and obviously you have to round all these out. You're 100% right, Pace. But you can squat up for all of those except for fine. Well, I mean, you could squat that up too if somebody found a deal that needs some help with it. But if you're just getting brand new, that's what this whole point is. This here, this show every Monday is a meetup group. You know what I'm saying? This is your meetup group. You let people know where you do business, and the people that are really closing deals, help other people out that haven't closed deals.
Right.
The challenge is do you have enough courage to go out and talk to a stranger? What did you called it something else, Pace? You called it meet new friends or something, meet new people or something. But yeah, I mean,
your inability to introduce yourself to new people.
That's it. Yep. I mean,
did you see this little thing I put on my Instagram story 2 days ago?
Awesome. Yep.
This is literally like what most people's problem is.
Yep.
Is they're so afraid to take that step that they end up being the person at the bottom. Right? It's like 1 year later, they're literally just still consuming content, and they haven't made friends, and they haven't held themselves accountable or somebody else accountable. And this is what Wholesale Hotline was geared and designed to accomplish, is help you guys just go one step at a time. So, Edward Nunez says he loves this. Like, this is our meetup, guys, which is cool. Here's what I would say to this is that in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, can you confidently say that you have at least taken down one leg of the elephant? Because guess what's great about an elephant? They can't run without all 4 of their legs. They're so top heavy that if you could just take down one of the legs as something you can skillfully master, not even master, just freaking take a shot at it, right?
Yep.
Just trip that elephant and it comes tumbling down, and it's right there for you for the taking. Is there one of those 4 things that you can understand really well? Can you comp properties, right? Do you know where to find the opportunities? Do you know how to find the buyers? And then 4th is, do you understand the transaction well enough that you can be a transaction coordinator or a transaction engineer or somebody who can help out with the paperwork? those 4 things, you don't have to know all 4 out of the gate, just one.
Yep.
So in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, what are you doing to master just one of those 4 things? And then rely on everybody else for the others.
That's it.
Sharon,
I mean, it's interesting. You know, I had this, you know, I remember, you know, 12, 15 years ago in real estate, wholesaling wasn't a thing, right? It wasn't called wholesaling. You know what it was called? Bird dogging. You want to know why it was called bird dogging? Because people were scared of comping their properties. They were scared of building up a buyer's database. They were scared of not understanding the verbiage. So any aspiring real estate person, real estate entrepreneur that came around to meetup groups and to RIAs throughout the whole nation, they had dudes up there that, you know, looked good and they were closing deals. And they're like, I need some bird dogs. I'm going to give you $500 every deal that you send me. And then they would make 50, 100 grand and everything. And then the internet really blew up, and YouTube and podcasts and these other things. And then all of a sudden people realized, okay, well, if I find the deal and I squat up with somebody, I could get a good amount of this deal just by finding this opportunity. And now there's I don't even know if bird dogs exist. Do bird dogs exist, Case?
Yeah. My wife bird dogs for me. She doesn't go lock up the contract. She goes to like a Keegley or, you know, even a TTP or another wholesaler in town and bring me deals because I'm too busy.
Yeah.
But it's not a full, it's not a full-time thing.
She gets 80, 90% of the deal, right?
I pay her, let's see, here's how I structure it. She gets paid, you can get paid an assignment fee up front, but what my wife gets is she gets 20% of my net profit on my flip plus the listing is what I give her.
Yeah. There you go. And then she puts it into your joint bank account, so you don't know. We have no, you know, that's an interesting thing. And my wife and I don't have a joint bank account. She has her own bank account and she has an American Express I pay off every month. And there's no questions asked. You do whatever you want with your money. I'm going to go out and make the money. So, and I have a bookkeeper that just pays all the bills. So my wife doesn't have to deal with any of that stuff. She just has a good old time. Shout out Tony Counts.
Tony is amazing. Quijano says he pays her in babies. Yes, that is correct. Yes, that's right.
But yeah, listen, I mean, it comes down to you got to find these opportunities. And I respect that. You know, some people are going to understand and run comps. Some people are going to go and they're going to go and talk to some buyers. And some people are going to read up on books and watch these shows. And if we say something that maybe is a foreign or not common language, it's more of a real estate language thing, they'll look up and that adds to it all. But you got to find deals. Keep it knows. He was great.
Ingrid Hernandez says, we have over 300 people on this live. Make sure to hit that live button, guys. We have 600 people on this live. We just have a couple different YouTube channels. So we've got my YouTube channel, Brent and Jamil's YouTube channel. And then we also have a couple of Facebook groups. So if you guys are over on Facebook, I can tell you right now, you probably don't. I've got, here's the thing. I've got people on my Facebook group and Jamil's Facebook group, not to disparage the Facebook groups, but guys, YouTube's where it's at. Come on over.
Yep.
Come over here and hang out on YouTube. We have a lot of fun over here. It's a little bit easier to communicate with people in the chat on YouTube.
Did you see the stats for our podcast pace?
Yeah, I reposted. I was like, wait, what?
116,000 in the last 30 days, guys. And by the way, we had a conversation after last week's show with Jerry Norton. Jerry Norton has joined the Wholesale Hotline podcast every single week. He's in there. So guys, if you have not subscribed to that podcast, make sure that you do. We have new podcasts every single day. Some are long, some are short. Depends on what you're in the mood for. But we put a lot of work into it. We've got a lot of pride right there. Podcasts were always one of the ways that I really learned. And I would always, I don't think I've listened to my radio in my car. If I'm in the car by myself, I haven't listened to the radio in probably 7-8 years. It's always podcasts and audibles. And I've learned so much. I've gained so much skills driving around, so much confidence driving around. I would put on Tom Kroll's Wholesaling Inc. podcast before going on appointments back in 2016. and lockup deals. So make sure that if you guys are not in there, make sure that you subscribe. And if you could, please write us a review. That helps us out so much. I mean, it really, really, really helps us rank as a podcast and bring more people into our world so that everybody can squat up.
I love Wholesale Hotline. It's so freaking amazing. I just got a text message from somebody saying that they made $220,000 this year alone just from the Wholesale Hotline chat, linking in with people.
Hold on.
Ooh.
Don't think I don't have this.
Oh, he brought the bell, baby. Oh.
Rafael Cortez. I'm in Rafael Cortez's office. We are remodeling. The next time you see Wholesale Hotline in our office, it's going to be absolutely bananas, the studio we're building. So really excited about it.
Jesse says, my boss hates this podcast because I listen to it all day at work, and now my other coworkers are trying to get into wholesale too.
Get him, Jesse.
Carlos Balzan says, Pace, do you think right now is a good time to get into sub 2? This is an interesting conversation. Because first and foremost, I've been doing sub 2 successfully for years and years. Before the market changed and corrected to a point where now we have interest rates at not an all-time high, but obviously they haven't been higher in a long, long time. And they're going to go up a whole nother point next month.
Yep.
Everybody now is like, oh my gosh, creative finance. And you'll start seeing everybody want to talk about creative finance. Guys, the fact of the matter is I'm buying just as many deals as I was 6 months ago and a year ago and 2 years ago. I can only buy so many deals. So the only difference is now the sellers are almost throwing properties at me, right? I've got sellers going, yeah, oh yeah, if you'll give me my number, yeah, I'll give you 0 down, 0% seller finance. I just bought a deal, closed on it today. It's 2 houses, 1 lot, 0% seller finance. It's going to cash flow $3,500 a month. And I'm like, I didn't get this deal because creative finance is the new thing. It's because creative finance to me has always been the thing. So I'm not getting any louder about creative finance than I already have, because I already have the biggest creative finance YouTube channel on the freaking internet. I've always believed in sub 2, seller finance, novation agreements, wraps, lease options, executory contracts, all of the things. But if you're brand new, I get a lot of students that couldn't do a deal wholesale because they couldn't negotiate 50 cents on the dollar, 40 cents on the dollar. And they come in, they wholesale their first subject to deal. In fact, I've got a student wholesaling a deal to me, a multifamily deal right now. He's getting a $200,000 assignment on a seller finance multifamily. So creative finance has always been amazing. And in times where interest rates are really high, it gets a little bit easier for sure. So yes, you should be definitely looking at creative finance. Here's a good question. I actually talked about this a lot today. Stan Bolden said, when virtually wholesaling, how would you determine what markets is best to cold call in? My home market is New York. First and foremost, anywhere but New York City. Yep. Also anywhere other and Miami and I would say Jersey, maybe. Now I say that, but one of our biggest groups of people is in New York and New Jersey. The thing is, most of our New York students are virtually wholesaling outside of the state. A lot of our Jersey students are actually doing wholesale and fix and flip in Jersey. It's easier over there on the other side of the river.
Yeah, Jersey's good.
I would look at, so I just did this. I actually had Benson from Privy today for about 4 hours teaching my students how to use Privy. And that was actually first set of homework today. Part of our live is choose a market for the next 2 weeks. I chose Atlanta with my accountability partner. One of my students is my accountability partner. I'm doing the same homework as everybody else. It was choose a market. And this is a common thing that pops up. Choose a market, guys, where there's a lot of activity. And if you don't mind, I'll show Privy like how quickly you can show people like where the activity is. Do you mind?
Yeah, do it.
So I would find somewhere that has a lot of activity. And let's see if I can log in. I don't know if I have the ability. Let's see. Okay, log in. Okay, cool. Oh, perfect. This is great. They make it easy on you. Right out of the gate, they make it super easy on you. Okay, so I open up Privy, and the first thing you see on Privy is this. You see a heat map. Okay, you see where they have everywhere that has blue coloring is where they have MLS data. So I chose Atlanta. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in kind of in that part of the country. And I'm going to show you guys how quickly you can find a market that has a lot of activity. Okay. These are deals that have closed. Okay. Do you think I want to go into this market right here where it has 55 closed deals in the last 12 months? Or do I want to go to a market that has 5,600 closed deals in the last 12 months?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. This is massively important for you guys to understand is don't choose a market where there's not a lot of activity, especially if you're virtually wholesaling. Now look at this. Do you think I really want to be trying to look at this as a market over here in like South Dakota area? Look at this dead spot. First off, there's nobody that lives here, but you can see there's no transactions going on over there. And if there's no transactions going on there, then you're not going to choose that as a market. So for me, I would choose a market that has a lot of activity. Typically for me, I really like the Virginias. I like Georgia. I like Florida. Look at this, 5,800 transactions. Do you think this might be an area that I want to focus on? Find an area where people are doing a lot of deals, because a lot of deals means a lot of people to get deals from and sell deals to. That's number one. High investor activity. Choose that first and foremost. Now, PropStream has a similar thing. So if you guys have PropStream, you guys can see the heat map on PropStream that shows where the transactions are being done. So I'm not going to go and pull. By the way, these are flips. Okay. I'm trying to sell. Typically, we're trying to sell our wholesale contracts to somebody who's fixing and flipping or somebody who's buying, holding. Okay. And these are contracts that have been done by investors. So these are investor transactions right here. Pretty obvious. I want to go into Atlanta where there's the most activity. And then secondly, choose what your exit strategy is. Are you going to wholesale everything? If you're going to wholesale everything, then probably going to Chicago where there actually is a ton of people flipping and crushing it in Chicago. Tons of people. We went through South Chicago today and Privy was like, people always say South Chicago is somewhere you should stay away from. Let's go in there and let's show you all the active flips that are going on right now. I was like, holy crap, I had no idea. So, but Chicago, the problem is with Illinois is they only allow you to wholesale one contract a year. Then you got to get creative. You could then buy something in an LLC and sell the LLC, and you could do all sorts of creative things to avoid that. But maybe choose a market that's wholesale friendly, right? Texas.
Unless you have a license, right?
Unless you have a license. Great point. Yeah. So I would say high activity, right? A lot of competition. No, that's a lot of collaboration. A lot of people you can do deals with and do deals, like send deals to. Secondly, look at your exit strategy. If you're going to wholesale, then choose a market that's wholesale friendly, unless you're an agent, because they're all wholesale friendly if you're an agent. If you're a buy and holder, right? Somebody like me who I do all three. I do a lot of wholesale, we do a lot of fix and flip, and we do a lot of buy and hold. I'm a full spectrum real estate investor. I'm not going to buy and hold in California. I'm not going to buy and hold in Washington, Oregon, New Jersey, New York, because of the politics that your states, I'm sorry guys, but your states don't like investors like me. They've proven it with their laws. They make it impossible for me to make money if I have a tenant that doesn't pay their rent. So why would I go build, if I'm a buy and hold investor, why would I go and choose to be in New York if they don't like landlords? And my business strategy is landlord. So 1, investor activity. 2, look at your exit strategy. And then 3, is there somewhere that you actually at some point, this is a weird one, but I have a lot of people in New York that say, one day I'm going to move away from New York. Okay, well then choose an area you would like to live in at some point, that's 5 years, 10 years, and virtually wholesale there. Build a network there. So when you land on your feet there, you've got a full-fledged business already up and going. And there you go. There's the answer.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I would look at non-disclosure states or disclosure states. I would look at the areas that they are going to publish what people sold this for. You know what I mean? Now there's some good technologies out there. Batch leads and PropStream will give you an estimate, but it's not exact. I mean, it's pretty close, but it's exact, and it makes it a little bit easier to pull data in non-disclosure states.
Yeah, and what I like about Privy, I'm just learning about Privy. We use batch leads, and this is a common question I get all the time. You guys talk about PropStream, you guys talk about batch leads, you talk about, I use Deal Automator for my CRM, and then you guys talk about Privy. Which one should I use? Again, guys, it depends on what I call your avatar. What are you doing? If you're a transaction coordinator, you don't need batch leads and you don't need prop stream. You probably need need privy. Do you need to house, if you're a direct to agent, right? Jamil teaches a lot of direct to agent, and you want to have a CRM with all your agents and the last time you guys had a conversation because that's your lead source, then you need to have a CRM and then probably privy. But you're not going to be pulling a list on batch leads if you're just getting your deals from direct to agent. Okay. Yeah. So you got to make a determination. Now, for me in my business, we use all four. We have PropStream, we have batch leads, we have privy, and we have a CRM. And we have other ancillary services as well. But people ask the question. Well, my answer is what grocery store do you shop at? Well, it depends. Sometimes which one am I closer to, right? Convenience. Secondly is, do they have, we buy our meat from Sprouts. I don't know why. We buy a lot of things from Costco because it saves us money. And then we also buy things from Target because Target has things that Sprouts doesn't have, right? So depends on what I'm trying to accomplish, and what I need that day is the grocery store that I'm going to use. Yes, is it inconvenient that they're not all in one location? Yes. But it also is amazing that these software companies are able to specialize in their strategies, and we can utilize all of them. They're not trying to compete with each other. They're actually trying to give you additional tools that each other don't have.
Yeah, it's actually wildly expensive to do all of those under one roof. I mean, yeah. But non-disclosure states are tougher. Disclosure states are easier. There's 38 disclosure states where they will disclose the sales of the properties. The 12 non-disclosure: Alaska, Idaho, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, New Mexico, North Dakota, Texas, Utah, and of course Wyoming. Those are the non-disclosure states. So they don't have to disclose what the property sold for, which makes it a little bit tougher sometimes for comps. But those guys do a good job of giving you an estimate. But I always like, Pace, I always like making sure that whatever market you're in, squad up with a real estate agent to double check. Or if you're in specific areas that you've never sold a property before, make sure you do your comps, but then call a real estate agent and see what they think the property would sell for totally fixed up. It's going to be a huge for you.
I love it. Got a good couple questions in here.
Let's do
John
it.
says, creative finance question. As a new investor, do you recommend us implementing the entry fee rules to go and find some creative finance wholesale deals? So John, I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. I don't go out and find creative finance deals. I go out and I generate leads with motivated sellers. Yeah. And out of those conversations, we ask a couple more questions and divert those people who are not a good fit for cash transactions into creative finance. So do I get cash deals from foreclosure? Yes. Do I get cash or creative deals from foreclosure? Yes. Do I get probate deals, both cash and creative? Yes. Do I get bankruptcy leads and divorce leads? I get cash and creative deals. It's just determined based on the human being you're talking to as an individual and their situation. And unfortunately, you'll never be able to pull up a list that tells you exactly what that person's going through. You have to TTP. You have to talk to those people and figure that out.
Yep. Let me ask you this, Pace. When you on a creative deal, every time I've ever negotiated one, and it hasn't been a tremendous amount, usually we go after really, really, really the roughest properties, and it's nothing that these need remodeling. The cash down, the cash up front for these properties would be significant. So typically they go to a fix and flip buyer, and these properties are owned free and clear. Anyway, I go in on a creative deal looking for 3 answers. 1, how much cash do you want down? Or not want or need, or you know what I'm saying? This is what I'm trying to discover. How much do they want down? How much do they want a month? And for how long?
Yeah. That's basically it.
Creative finance.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
That's
you
it.
talk about zero. Well, you said something really interesting here, and I want to kind of pick it apart because I think this is really interesting for people, because everybody thinks in payments. They think in percentage. Oh, I got the seller wants 5% of their money, or they want 6% of their money, and they want this, this, and this. But in reality, how much do they want a month? You know what I'm saying? And you said something about 0% finance, which means you agreed to their price. You're just going to pay it over time, over a specific amount of payments, correct?
Right.
So you put 0 down, and you say, okay, I can afford to pay you on this because I can rent it for a certain amount. I can pay you 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. I can pay you this amount for the next. What do you typically go for? 10 years, 5 years?
On my multifamily, I go for 50 years. And for my
Yep.
single family, I go for 30 years. And if a seller says 30 years is too long, I go, no problem. Let's do a 30-year payment and I'll give you a 10-year balloon.
Beautiful. And are you taking the price and dividing it by 360 payments, which is 30 years?
Yeah. Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. They want 400,000. Absolutely. Listen, guys, when you were negotiating real estate, it was down to 3 things. And then this is a different 3 things. And come down to the price, the terms, and do they trust you? Right?
Right.
Price, terms, do they trust you?
Yeah, a lot of people, like especially non-students who haven't figured out how to have the conversations, because I record all my calls with sellers on Creative, and then I put them in my sub-2 group so they can listen to them over and over and over and kind of formulate their own stories and ways to explain things, etc. So I get people that are non-sub-2 students that come to me and they go, hey, I pitched sub-2 to a seller and it didn't work. I'm like, okay, okay. I mean, I don't know what to tell you except let me get on the phone. And then I'll get on the phone with them and they'll go 2 seconds into the call. I'm like, oh, this is a really great example. So AJ Osborne, who's a bigger pockets guy, he does a lot of storage units. He was just on Ryan Pineda's YouTube channel a couple of days ago about this big storage unit that they're converting from a Kmart into a storage unit facility. And his acquisition guy meets me at a meetup up in Idaho. And I give my cell phone number. I go, yeah, call me anytime you have a problem. So he sends me a message. He goes, I don't think you're going to respond to me, but I'm having a hard time convincing a seller that creative finance is a good way for him to go. And either I'm doing something wrong or creative finance sucks. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I in 7 minutes on the call with the seller, not even 7 minutes, it was maybe 2 minutes. The call was 7 minutes. In 2 minutes, I got the seller convinced to do a seller carry on a storage unit. And his acquisition guy's name is Alex. And Alex is just like, dude, I can't even believe how easy that was for you, Mike, because I know how to build rapport and I know how to tell stories. It's not about creative finance. It's your ability to build a relationship with that person and tell a story, right? And you're sitting here over here throwing the word seller finance out. I'm sitting over here saying, how much do you want for the property and how many payments will you allow me to make until it's paid off? Basic. Keep it super basic, right? And boom. By the way, Rylas Dana, probate attorney, good friend of mine, just got his first creative finance deal done a couple of months ago. I think it was a 0% seller finance deal. Yeah, he's got it. There you go.
Rylas, what is he talking about here, Pace? You were concerned about the payment amount they want to receive. If they want interest, they pay the highest taxes on that part of the payment. What is he talking about, Pace?
He's talking about when people receive interest income, the way the IRS looks at that interest income as one of the highest forms of taxable income is interest income. So it is an advantage when you sit down with a seller and you go, why would you want interest income? You're going to be taxed at a higher rate. Anyway, it's a fun thing. So if a seller goes, I want 5%, you go, okay, great. Well, you're going to be taxed at a really high rate on that 5% interest. Why don't we do 0% interest and you'll get taxed at a lower rate? And then they'll bring up something that's really high level creative finance called imputed interest. I won't get into that today. You guys we'll talk about imputed interest this coming Sunday on Sunday service, just to satisfy your guys' hungry minds for imputed interest. But it's a good negotiating tactic for sellers when sellers are like, well, I want interest. You go, okay, so you want to pay the highest amount of tax. Got it. Okay, cool.
So let me ask you this, Pace. If you do this for 30 years and you make payments, let's say you pay them $1,000 a month, you pay them $12,000, right? And that's going towards these are installment payments. How much of those payments are they going to be? Because this comes up a lot. I don't want to sell my property because I don't want to get hit with the huge taxes this year. If you do it in installment payments, what happens?
So they only get taxed on money they receive. So installment payments are way better. So if you really look at this here, I'll do a little I'll do a little solo layout on a whiteboard for you guys for just a second. So if you guys look at this, if they receive, let's say, here's year 1, 2, 3, all the way through 30, let's say, and you're going to sell it they're going to sell it to you for $400,000, divide that by 360 payments, right? Actually, let's do it easy. $360,000 sales price at 360 payments. That's $1,000 a month. So that means in year 1, they receive 12 grand. Well, guess what? They're going to get taxed on $12,000 of the money they receive. Same thing here. 12,000.
Is it 12,000? But didn't they buy it? I mean, don't they have long term?
Yes, but if you want to melt people's brains right now, then I suggest let's get into that. If you don't, we'll just keep it simple. So let's say let's say they inherit the property. Okay, hypothetically, their cost basis is 0, so they got it for $0. Right. They sell it to you on seller finance for 360. Let's use that as an example. The advantage here, it's full profit. So the advantage here is that they bring in $12,000 of income on that property, right? Well, guess what? Most of these sellers are pretty savvy, and they understand. Is that how you spell savvy? Is it 2 V's or 1 V?
Crushed it, bro.
I got it? Okay, cool.
Yep.
So they're pretty savvy, and so they understand if I bring in $12,000 of income, guess what else I can also do this year? I can actually get tax deductions on other things that actually wipe out this $12,000 to a non-taxable standpoint. So maybe it's something in their business. Maybe it's another rental property they own. Maybe it's a trip they take their family on. Whatever it is, they can negate that $12,000 of income. However, if they bring in $360,000 in cash in one freaking year, none of them are going to be able to go find $360,000 in tax deduction. So really, a lot of really smart sellers going in installment payments or seller finance can actually end up paying zero money to the IRS because of this. They can spread out their income, and they can also spread out their tax deductions to negate that income over 30 years, if that makes sense.
Now, Pace, is there like any tools or anything that people could use that could find people that don't owe anything on their house? They own them free and clear, and they could then, is there a place where they could then get their like contact information and then maybe like call them up and be like, hey, listen, I want to give you full value for your property if you're willing to take some payments on this thing, and see if they're savvy enough to understand that? Is that possible? Is there tools that allow people to do that?
Yeah, the one that we use is batch leads. I don't really use PropStream. When PropStream played around, I'll say this outwardly to PropStream. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to pick you apart a little bit. When PropStream changed and pulled their MLS data off of PropStream, and then a couple months later, because their outcry of their clients, they started putting it back. I look at that and I'm like, you guys are playing games. You didn't lose MLS data. You pulled it off. I'm so sorry. We use PropStream for a couple of things. There's a couple of lists we really like for them, but I'm not going to promote PropStream because I feel like Batch really is customer facing 100%. So we use batchleads.io/squad up. If you guys are out there, you want to use Batch. We pull there's a full equity list. You can actually go in there and slide on the equity. You can find people who have 100% equity.
That's right.
What's crazy about this too, not only did we talk about this a couple of weeks ago, is that you can go on the MLS right now and find creative finance deals being sold through real estate agents. Very common. The funny thing about this is that people don't realize that like 50% of all homes in America have actually been paid for and paid off. There's no debt on them. So think about the opportunity that's out there. All the the owner occupied properties, 40 something to 50% of them are paid off free and clear.
Yep.
The seller finance opportunities out there are absolutely freaking insane.
Yeah.
And I will pay for.
The reason I want to talk about this more, Pace, is finally, sellers, listen, for a long time, at least in our market, Pace, and this is my experience just with our business, sellers could just get whatever they wanted for it. You put it on the market, they get whatever they want for it. All right. There are going to be so many property owners that this isn't their owner occupied. These are people that own other properties, right? These are people that have had it for a while, and they're not going to be able to get the price they want anymore. Guys, the top is gone. I'm telling you, the top is gone. Pace, have you looked at, did you follow the Cromford report in Phoenix at all?
Yeah,
Right?
I love Tina Tambor. She's my second wife.
I am telling you, they are so smart with this. Literally April, we had 4,900 listings. We have 19,000 listings as of today. Okay, this is going to happen all around the country. And as interest rates go up, all of these sellers that wanted those high prices, they're not going to get it. Now, that shouldn't like crush your soul. That shouldn't stress you out. That shouldn't like make you run away. Like, yes, fix and flippers right now are pausing because they got to release all this inventory while everything's going up, and there's so many more options, and the demand is going down, but the interests are going up, this whole thing, right? You're going to be able to offer people the price that they want as long as they give you the terms. And Pace has said this a bazillion times, so I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your dick here, but it is what it is. I mean, that's what's going to happen. The beautiful thing is you can lock up a creative deal and keep it for yourself. But if you need income to replace your current job right now, you can wholesale those to portfolio buyers. You can wholesale those, and
or
you can
homeowners.
make 10, 20,000.
I had a student that joined my program a week ago just to learn how to buy a sub-2 deal for himself to live in with his wife. They got his dream home under contract today, a week after learning about sub-2. So you guys can wholesale deals to, and where do you get the deal from? He got it from another sub-2 student, right? So you've got people out there that are doing this stuff that will assign it to two people: homestead buyers, people that will live in the property, and two people that will utilize it as a portfolio like me. I will not touch a deal if you send it to me cash. I'm so not interested in cash deals. I haven't been in a year, unless it's here in Phoenix. I will do cash deals here in Phoenix. Anywhere else, dude, don't even DM me about a cash deal you have. I couldn't care any less.
I think the market going forward, you need to have three tools. You need to have, for really ugly houses, you need to have, it's the same thing. It's wholesale. Ugly houses, big checks. Boom, right there. You have that in-between house, and they're not willing to do some sort of creative financing on it. Figure out novations. Number three, boom, you got creative finance for all the rest of it. And I'm telling you, like, you can move up and down the price scale based on those three strategies if you're actually using them. I mean, that is what it is. You know what I mean? Those are going to be the three main, and then whatever you want to do from a creative finance. I mean, what is there? 26 different ways or something?
26 different exit strategies in creative finance.
Right.
Wholesaling subject to is one of them. So a lot of exit strategies, which is pretty cool. There's a couple of people that had questions about a 1031 right here. Zach Elver. So seller finance on a 1031 property. So that means a homeowner that owns a property, or let's say they have an investment property, they want to sell it to you on seller finance, but they're worried that if they don't sell it to you, if they don't sell it for cash, they can't roll their cash into the next investment, which is called a 1031 exchange, which helps them avoid taxes. What's beautiful is if they go through a 1031 exchange intermediary, they're licensed people that actually do this for a living, okay? 1031 intermediaries will actually allow for a delayed 1031 exchange up to 30 years. So they can accept 30 years of payments to their property on seller finance. They do not need to receive all that money right out of the gate. Creative finance dominates, especially in the 1031 market. People don't even freaking understand. So there you go. That's the answer for that. Claudia, I have a seller willing to do a seller finance on a $1,050,000 deal with zero debt on the property. What's the best way to structure a deal with the seller? This is such a common question. How do you structure? What do they want? First and foremost, where I start is this: what can I do with the property? Right? People send me this stuff all the time. What is the exit strategy, Claudia? Is it an Airbnb? Because if it's $1 million property, it better have a lot of money, because your seller is going to want a really high payment. So I got to find out, what can this thing produce? So if you come to me and you go, well, Pace, I looked at AirDNA, I looked at, all these sites, they tell me that this thing can produce 10 grand a month in income, right? Can receive $10,000 in income for this $1 million property. I would then say, all right, well, you need to go figure out what the seller wants. And if the seller says to you, I want a $12,000 payment, it's very simple. Start with the highest and best use. We talked about this 3 weeks ago on Wholesale Hotline. Brent let me rattle on about creative finance 3 weeks ago, and it's highest and best use. Start with the highest and best use, which means what is the thing that's going to produce the most income for me? Check this out. I've got a very unique one I'm going to be doing a YouTube video about. I bought a property, 2 houses on the same property, 3 bed, 2 bath, 2-car garage, both of them, same parcel number. Okay.
Yep.
0 down, 0% seller finance. Amazing deal. I'll show you guys the HUD here in just a second. We close on it today. One of the properties I'm going to Airbnb, and one of them I'm going to rent. Because I know the back unit will be a pain in the ass if I Airbnb it, because they got to drive back there. So I'm going to turn that into a rental. It's going to be a little bit lower rent rate. And then the front unit, because it's easily accessible, is going to be an Airbnb. Like, you got to make the determination. You got to look at your numbers and go, okay, if I put 2 Airbnbs here, I think the second person is going to be bothered by having to go Okay, great. I can have my renter. If I put a renter in the back unit, I can put in my lease agreement that they need to be perfectly fine with busy traffic going in and out and strangers coming on the property all the time. And I can set this up specifically. And then that way, even when I don't have an Airbnb tenant in there, guess what I have? I have somebody covering my freaking payment every month on the other property, right? So you got to look at what your exit strategy is so you can understand the income before you have a conversation with the seller and say, well, what do you want? Because the seller is going to tell you what do they want, and you don't know in that moment if that's good or bad. Look at the address, compare it to rent rates. Like Rentometer is really good. Zillow rent estimate is decent, but Rentometer is the best. And then I would also compare it to AirDNA and other sources of income, and then go in and make a determination. Because in my world, the best way to structure, a seller goes, well, what are your offer? I go, well, if you ask me what I'm going to offer, I'm going to give you 0 down, 0% seller finance at $500,000. So let's not start with my number. Let's start with yours. And
yeah,
that's
I
how
think, and you know, in my thought here is, what do they want? Do they want $500,000 down and, 20 grand a month for the rest of it? And you're just wasting your time going to all these and doing all this research and figuring out what's happening with this thing. Like, how much do you want down? How much do you want a month, and for how long? I think that should be reasonable questions to ask a seller before doing research on it. It's like, hey, I got this deal. Okay, great. Have you talked to the property owner? No, but it's really ugly and I want to know what to offer them. No. Find out what they want first. Find out what is happening here. I mean, I just think before you go into, with pace, what I find is people are busy, but they're not productive, right? They're doing all the homework before they know before they pre-qualified them. I think with this type of deal, obviously you need to know the condition, timeline, motivation, and price, but you all have to know all the other things, right? What do they want? What do they want down, and how much and for how long? How much and how long? That deal, maybe they want $5,000 down, $1,000 a month for the next, million years or something. It's not likely, but it's good to find out.
Yeah. The buyer's place. Pace, I saw your buy box and acquired a property that fits in it. Everyone is saying it is a good deal, but they are looking to buy and flip. This is a buy and hold in Atlanta, Airbnb. So here's what I'm hearing is that you locked up a deal that's cash. Okay. I will do a deal and get cash in Atlanta because I've got something really cool cooking right now. I've got Bamboo, one of my students, and his father, Big Boy from Outcast, and I are partnering on some fix and flips in Atlanta right now. So if you guys have some cash deals in Atlanta, I will temporarily buy them. You just have to email Molly at AmericaHomeOffers.com. If you guys have a deal for me to look at, Molly at America Home Offers, it's in the side chat right there. Email me, tell me you got a deal, and I'll take a look at it. I'd love to take a look at it. Let's see. When do you use a hybrid deal? You use a hybrid deal. Ooh, great question. This is Joel. This is probably a longer question. I need to whiteboard out. Come to Sunday service and I'll answer that question for you, even though I already have on Sunday service. Did you see what
these people wanted on that deal, Pace? On 1,050,000, they wanted $800,000 down.
Yeah. My answer to that all the time, and Claudia did a great job. She said, but talked her down to $100,000 a year over 10 years. That's great. Cool. So think about it again. We talked about this 3 weeks ago. Okay. So my down payment as a buyer, what do I care about more than anything else? I care about cash on cash return.
That's right.
Okay, so if I'm going to invest $100,000 into that deal, plus closing costs, plus some furniture, plus whatever, let's say I'm 150 grand in cash into that deal, I'm 15% in. That's twice as good as a BRRRR deal. Okay, twice as good as a BRRRR deal. And especially if the interest rate is like 2 to 3%, it's 5 times better than a BRRRR deal. Then what I do is I go, okay, I'm 150 grand into this. I want a 30% return every year. So what does that mean? That means every month I better be netting $4 grand a month on this deal, because at the end of the year, I'll make $48,000, $48,000 return on a $150,000 investment. That's a good return for me. So you have to make the determination, Claudia, if I put 150 grand into that, what is my cash and cash return? And that determines whether that's a good deal or not. Somebody also asked a question of, hey, how do I determine an assignment on a creative finance deal? This gets a little bit tricky, but I have a rule of thumb for this, right? My rule of thumb is for every $100 the property will net cash flow, I will pay $1,000 assignment. Okay, so if my property cash flow is $1,000 on an Airbnb, there you go. There's $10,000 I'll pay you. Now, I then double that if you can get it for 0% interest. So now I'll pay you $2,000 for every $100 you give me. So on a $1,000 cash flow, that's $20,000 assignment. Okay.
Is your cash on cash you're looking for a 30% pace?
My average right now is 30%. I'm trying to get it up. So I just won't go below 30%.
Minimum.
That's my minimum is 30%. So on the multifamily, the deal that I'm buying and I'm paying an assignment fee of $200,000, guys, it's because the cash flow on the thing is freaking $20,000 a month. Okay. It makes sense to pay that. The income on that is amazing. And it's a 50-year mortgage with no balloon. It's one of the best deals I've bought, especially in multifamily. So it justifies a very high assignment fee. Okay. And when he asked for that assignment fee, he literally threw it at me at a shot in the dark. And I go, yes, I'll pay that. He goes, you don't want to negotiate me? I go, no, because this is my rule of thumb. And I want you to go find me another one. And I want you to find me another one. And I want you to find me another one. And some people don't understand how creative finance works. Is you go, where the hell is that $200,000 coming from? Guys, there's 14 million landlords in America that are not broke. They got cash. They have partners. They have capital resources. They have lenders. Money is used to buy properties. And so sometimes I bring on a partner. I'll raise capital. I'll do whatever to buy that deal so I can build my portfolio and my net worth.
Yeah, you use that money for 20K a month.
Yeah, this is my net.
Yeah.
Here we go. Josh Hernandez says, I have a deal at 0% down for 30 years. Okay, Josh, what should you do? Email me, molly@americahomeoffers.com. Okay, send me the damn deal. In Texas, I'll buy in Texas. I buy in Texas all the time. Love it. molly@americahomeoffers.com.
Who's Molly?
Molly is my operations manager for my acquisition business and my lending business. She takes, I don't look at deals anymore. She manages the team. She shuffles money around. She handles the transaction coordinator. I have a full-time transaction coordinator named Allison. As much as I love Allison, I don't talk to her as much as I used to. She's now being managed by Molly. So I'm very, very uninvolved in the acquisition side of things other than, oh, okay, great. We got a deal in the pipeline. Perfect. Let me go raise capital for it. Or, hey, I want to go visit that property. Let me go tell a story about it. And I'm involved at that degree. But for the most part, Molly handles the pipeline and the deals that we're buying. Okay, this is great. Joel says, just curious, are many of the commercial multifamily investors well aware of creative finance and terms? I feel like they should be. So they are at very high level understand seller finance. In fact, the majority of sellers in the multifamily space will sell to you partially on seller finance. We call it the Morby method, where I go get a commercial loan from, let's say, Marcus and Millichap. That's my lender. Marcus and Millichap will give me 70%, 60 to 70% of my purchase. And then I have the seller carry back the other 30 or 40%. We call that the Morby method. I'm into a multifamily deal with no money out of pocket. Okay. So a lot of sellers will do that, especially right now as cap rates are getting destroyed because the interest rates are going up. People are having to drop their properties on the multifamily stuff so dramatic. Guys, if you want to become literally worth 100 million in the next 3-4 years, go after 30 to 100 unit multifamily deals on seller finance. That's what I'm doing. I'm going after 30 to 100 to 150 max multifamily deals in markets I really am excited about, and I'm gobbling them up seller finance. I'm trying to buy $3 million a month worth of multifamily. And so every year for the next 4 or 5 years, I'll buy 150 to 175 million dollars in real estate on seller finance, only multifamily. By the time that 5 years is up, they will all have doubled in value because interest rates will go back down, rent rates will go up even more, and that's where you'll make an absolute killing. You want to be worth $100 million, that's how you do it.
How do you find those deals, Pace?
You could go on here. I'll show you right now. Here, this is great. This is too easy.
While you're doing that, I just want to answer Mac Daddy real quick. Every hour, Mac Daddy, change your caller ID every hour. So usually you're going to want 5 to 10 at all times and rotate it. Boom.
All right. So if I go to this fancy dancy thing called Google and I go to loopnet.com, one of the greatest websites of all time, multifamily deals, especially with listed properties, these agents know what seller finance is. Okay. So I can go into, I want for sale. I'm going to go down to commercial or multifamily, boom, enter a location. Let's say North Carolina. I love North Carolina, and enter that in. Oh, this is great. Well, this one's an auction. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want an auction, but look at all these opportunities right now. Okay. Charlotte, for example, we just bought a 408 unit in Charlotte. Let's see, 32 unit, $5 million. This is a great opportunity right here. Okay. 32 unit apartment building, $5 million. So $164,000 a unit. This has actually been on here for a little bit. I saw this a couple weeks ago.
For sale by owner.
There you go. So what you do is you just call them and you can text them, PJ. I could even text PJ right now and say, hey, TJ, are you guys open to seller finance? In fact, if you look in here, a lot of times they'll say open to seller finance. Should I call him right now?
Do it.
Let's call him.
What time is it?
We got time. We got 5-6 minutes.
No, I mean, like, what time is it in North Carolina?
Oh, like dang, it's 9. No, it's 9:30. Yeah, it's too late. So what we'll do is maybe I'll call this person next Monday if the deal's still there. But literally, these deals are just everywhere. Multifamily sellers are way more savvy with creative finance than a single family homeowner. Yeah. And so you'll be able to pick up multifamily actually a lot easier. I've got 50, 30, 40, 50. So I've got roughly 170 units that I'm acquiring that I'm closing on the next 60 days, all seller finance, 100% seller finance. And I'm paying, they're all 50-year terms, under 4% interest. One of them's 3% interest and the other 3 are 4% interest. So the sellers just get it. They've been in real estate a long time. So they've compounded into bigger portfolios. They understand it. And most of the time, by the way, I've got a YouTube video. I'm sorry, I've turned this into Creative Finance 101, but I've got a seller named.
I mean, this is the transition. And, just people might be wondering, why would somebody have these multifamily and then do owner finance? Think about it. Think about what Pace is going to do. He's going to buy all these. He's going to get them paid off. And then he's going to sell them to somebody else so that they manage them and still get cash flow after he's already sold them. So he has no responsibility, and he's still getting cash flow from things that he's gotten cash flow from the last 20, 30 years. Guys, wealth building is not like rocket science. Just look at the numbers behind it. If you have cash flowing assets, you win. And once you get it all paid off and paid down and everything, then you sell it to some youngster coming up and you're chilling.
Yeah, this is a good comment right here. Witchley says it's coming up with the down payments that get me. Well, bro, that's why you wholesale them to people like me. Or this is why I teach raising capital. I spend so much time talking about how to raise private capital, because you will never be worth $100 million in real estate if you don't know how to leverage other people's capital.
Yep.
So you got to learn how to raise money. So for me, my first 4 or 5 years in this business and acquiring rentals, I was doing it all with private capital. This January, I paid off all my private lenders. I don't have a single private lender on any of my deals anymore. It's only seller finance or subject to deals, no private lenders. It took years to get to that point. So you leverage the creative finance to buy the property. You bring in either a financial partner that 50-50 with you. They bring the money, you bring the deal. Now you guys own the property 50-50. That way you don't have any hard money costs, etc. Or you go raise private capital and you pay them interest. So you have 2 payments. One payment is to the seller for seller finance, and the other payment is to your hard money lender or your, soft money lender, essentially. And I have paid all those people off through my cash flow, which is great. So I no longer have to raise capital for that. Now what I'm raising capital for are my funds and my syndications on multifamily storage units, etc. A lot of good questions.
Where are you finding the people to raise the money from, Pace?
Oh my gosh. Wow. What a great question. That's a 25-hour live that I've already done.
90 seconds.
Go to Matt Faircloth's How to Raise Private Capital, written by Bigger Pockets. It's a great book to get you started, and it will answer most of the rudimentary questions. And then after you read that book, come back to me and I'll tell you how to really raise capital.
Do you know the name of the book?
Yeah, it's called How to Raise Private Capital.
Oh, there you go.
Matt Faircloth is the author. Amazing man. I'm actually going to be speaking on a panel with him in a couple of months at the Bigger Pockets convention with you.
Yeah.
And I believe.
Wait a second, Pace. Did you read that and that's how you raised it? Or do you think he just did a really good job of explaining the process that you took to get there?
So I was already raising capital just because I was like, people have told me I need to raise capital. So I was raising capital and asking questions. And then I thought, I really need to read a book about this to amplify it. So I read Matt Faircloth's book. I had probably already raised $2 or $3 million, and I understood the paperwork and I understood the things. And, which is typically the way I learn anything. I just go, who's the attorney or who's the title company in town that's doing these transactions? Let me go talk to them and pay them and consult with them, type of thing. And, I read Matt Faircloth's book, and then by the time I got to chapter 6 is when the really good stuff comes in, because chapters 1 through 5, he has to lay the runway for people that are brand new, like what is the security and what is raising capital and who are these people and da-da-da-da. You get to chapter 6 all the way through the rest of the book, and it was a confirmation that I was doing everything and more that he was already talking about, and it just gave me permission to double down on it. So Read that book. It is phenomenal. There
you go. 90 seconds. Crushed it.
There you go. Did I do it in 90 seconds? Damn, that's a new record for me.
Yeah.
Daniel Quijano says, how long till I speak at Bigger Pockets convention? I would say less than 24 months, Quijano, for sure. It's definitely written in stone. You will be speaking at Bigger Pockets. I would give it less than 24 months for sure. Oh, great question. Last question, I think, of the night, maybe. Pace, are you using property management companies that are in the same state of each of your properties that are throughout U.S. to manage your long-term rentals? Yes, 100%. So if I have properties in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which I do, then I have a Fayetteville, North Carolina property management company. If I have properties in Atlanta, which I do, I have Atlanta property management. I do have a lot of Airbnbs. Half of them are managed by a gentleman named Noah Hoffman. And Noah Hoffman is stationed out of Berkeley. He's a smart guy. And he virtually I just sent him $24,000 to furnish a property today. He lives in California and the property's in Houston, Texas. Okay. So these properties he virtually manages and takes care of. He has good systems and processes. He relies on technology. In my local state of Arizona, we use a property management company called OnQ Property Management. We really like them. They're the best we've found. Nobody's perfect, but overall they're great. We even had a hiccup today that somebody brought to my attention. I was like, yeah, that's definitely not my job, but let me know when you guys figure. I go, you know what? Better yet, don't even tell me when you figure it out. And then on top of that, on top of all these people, these managers and all that kind of stuff, I have what is called an asset manager. Her name is Heidi Silva. And Heidi Silva, her job is to make all the assets perform at their highest level. She just started 30 days ago. She's incredibly smart. I love her. She's actually staying in my guest house right now from Mississippi. She's out here onboarding a couple of new BRRRR deals that we did and in Mesa. And so, yeah, I have property managers, and then I now have an asset manager that manages the property managers, and they get paid based on performance of each property and how they perform.
Done. Guys, check out the podcast, Wholesale Hotline, Pace, Jamil, myself, Jerry Norton, every single week. We've got right now, Pace, we've got 402 reviews. What do we do if we can get to 500? We should do something when we get to 500.
Isn't that crazy,
you know
that we get 500,000 downloads in a year and we only have 500 reviews?
Yeah. Yeah.
People
kind of
hate
wild.
us, dude.
I think we should do something for the 98 people that go in there, or, you know, at least do something, maybe a giveaway, maybe a big old list. We skip trace or something. What do you think? We should do something.
I think I really like that. We have a couple of Wholesale Hotline guests flying out in the next couple of months that we challenge them to squat up with each other in the chat and then prove to us that they squatted up in the chat by showing settlement statements. They've done that, and we have 3 groups of people flying out, I think in September or October of this coming year, and flying out and actually hanging out inside one of our studios. I don't know if your studio will be ready by that point. But I think maybe doing something like, it will be that fast? 3 months?
Oh yeah. It'll be done in a month.
Cause you got the dream team.
I got the dream team, baby. It's going to be bananas. I'm telling you. And it's going to be we should fly somebody in. I think fly somebody in for a live show.
I love that. I think we should have is there going to be a section where you can have like a little couch and stuff where you can have like 5 to 10 people and have a live audience?
Oh, there's going to be the whole setup. It's going to blow your mind, Pace. It's going to be bananas. It's going to be the place to be on Monday afternoons. I'll tell you that.
I think that's what we do. We start pushing the, the reviews, and we say, people, once we hit to this point, we're going to do a drawing and pull 10 people out and have them come out and spend, a day at Wholesale Hotline and be in the studio live, something like that, something cool like that.
Yep. You want to go 10 people?
Well, people have wives and stuff. Have them bring their wife. Bring 5 people. Awesome. and a significant other.
If we get to 500, we're flying 10 people out.
Yeah. Oh, 500?
Nope.
No. I would say we have to get to 600 for that.
600, guys. We're right now, I'm looking at it on Apple, 402. So if you've done a review on Spotify, do it on Apple too. There you go.
It's pretty simple. We have 600 people in here right now and 400 reviews already. And the people who left the 400 reviews probably, what's interesting about Wholesale Hotline is that we get between 600 to 1,000 live viewers on every show, right? Which is cool. Yep. But I watch the audience. What they do is they elevate and they get to a point where like, okay, now my business is so busy, I can't tune into every Wholesale Hotline. So what they do is they start downloading the episodes instead of watching them live. And that's why our downloads are huge, but our live audience is a little bit, it's still big. It's the biggest in wholesale for sure. Yeah. But what happens is I'm like, bro, there's literally 15 to 20,000 people that listen to our show, but only 400 people in the history of the show have ever left a review.
Yep. 600
that must
guys.
Mean people hate us.
Get us to 600 support. We'll fly you in. It's going to be bananas. You're going to see a real suit. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So there you go. Go to Apple Wholesale Hotline, and then you just do the review right there. Can't miss it.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
I wonder if we could put a link in here somehow. I don't know. Is there a link to the review?
Have your team find it, because every time I do it, I just go to iTunes. I just type in iTunes. Like I go to Google and I type in iTunes Wholesale Hotline.
Yep. I go to the podcasts. Yeah, I guess that's, just download the podcast app. Boom. Review. Anyway, we love you guys. I am going live 10 a.m. for the Ugly Houses Big Check Show, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Brent Daniels YouTube channel. Answering your questions. We go live for 2 hours. We start out with 15, 20 minutes of pure badass instruction that you can implement. That is like ready for the market right now with all the changes and everything going on. Make sure that you are joining us 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Brent Daniels YouTube channel. Pace, you traveling? Where you going? You staying put this week?
I'm staying put this week. I'm finishing the last 4 chapters of my Bigger Pockets book so we can release it in the spring of next year. I'm super excited about that. So I'll be spending a lot of time writing my book. I've told my whole team, pretend like I'm dead so I can finish the book. And then I am also doing a live challenge just for my sub 2 students called the Elephant Challenge, where we're just teaching the bare necessities and getting back to basics. Like you and I have talked about multiple times, you know, people just need to get back to basics. And
yep,
I'll be doing that. And then Sunday service. So you guys won't see me until Sunday service.
Awesome. Eric Holiday, congratulations, brother. Here you go.
Bing, 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 bing. Amazing, guys.
Well,
We
you
love
guys,
you.
well,
We'll see you
Wednesday.
next week when Jamil is back. He's currently out visiting family. He told me the same thing. He said, I'm turning my phone off unapologetically. And we said, you know what, bro? I think you've deserved it after 200 plus episodes. You're the or 100 and something episodes. You're the freaking man. So, guys, we love you. We'll see you next week on Wholesale Hotline.
Boom.
Just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing?
I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know. I
Okay.
forgot. So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.